History doesn't reward kindness. It rewards strategy. Nice people rarely stay in power. Most of us are taught to be good, to be agreeable, and to always play nice. We're told that's how you get ahead. But reality operates by a completely different set of rules. Today, we are going to distill those exact rules. We are breaking down the brutal, unspoken truths about influence, leadership, and human nature.
Here is the central problem we face today. Most people fundamentally misunderstand how power actually works. They trust too easily. They act emotionally instead of strategically. They desperately seek universal approval, believing that leadership is just about being liked by absolutely everyone in the room. But when you ignore the hard, unvarnished truths of human behavior, you inevitably lose your influence. Because human nature doesn't care about your good intentions.
There's a massive, dangerous divide between illusion and reality. The illusion is trusting easily. It's the belief that if we're just nice enough, people will naturally follow us, that they'll have our backs when things go south. The reality? True influence requires strategic awareness. It requires a deep, unflinching understanding of human flaws. True leadership is about calculated positioning. It is not about your emotional comfort. If you rely on the illusion, you leave yourself completely exposed to people who understand the reality. Enter Niccolò Machiavelli and his infamous book, The Prince. Now, I want to be absolutely clear here. This is not some dusty, irrelevant history lesson. This book was written by a diplomat who is facing total ruin, imprisonment, and torture. It is a dangerous, controversial manual for survival. And the psychological insights inside this book, they apply perfectly to modern business, to high-stakes negotiations, and to our everyday social dynamics. It strips away the fantasy. It teaches you how the world actually works, not how you wish it worked.
Which brings us to the most dangerous, uncomfortable question of all. Is it better to be loved or feared? This is Machiavelli's most famous dilemma, and it forces you to confront your own assumptions right now. We all want to be loved. We think love guarantees loyalty, right? We think it creates a permanent safety net. But does it really? When the pressure is on, when the stakes are incredibly high and everything is on the line, what actually keeps people in check? The dark truth is simple. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because human beings are naturally fickle. We are ungrateful, we are unreliable, and we are highly self-interested. Love is a bond based on obligation, and people will break that bond the very second it becomes inconvenient or risky for them. They will melt away the moment danger appears. But fear is based on the threat of consequence, and a threat of consequence remains consistent. Love is a choice they make. Fear is a boundary you control.
But we have to be incredibly precise here. There is a massive life-or-death difference between being feared and being hated. Being feared is safe. It gives you leverage. It keeps you in a position of control, and it commands respect. Being hated, however, is fatal. Hatred destroys power. It invites rebellion and ruins your positioning entirely. Machiavelli specifically warns that to avoid being hated, you must never touch people's property or their livelihood. You must maintain your leverage without ever crossing the line into generating deep resentment.
Understanding what actually weakens you is just as important as knowing what makes you strong. Enter the generosity trap. This is a highly counterintuitive danger. We are taught from day one that giving freely builds loyalty. But being too nice, trying to buy people's loyalty with your own resources, it actually destroys your position. It doesn't earn you respect, it invites contempt. When you give too much, people come to expect it as a baseline. And the very moment you have to stop giving, they will turn on you immediately.
Consider the rule of resources and the exact impact it has on your power. If you constantly spend your own money, your own resources, it consumes your leverage. It leads directly to weakness and eventually hatred from the very people you were trying to please. But strategically spending other people's resources, that builds your reputation and your loyalty without any personal risk. It elevates your standing while keeping your own foundations completely secure. It's all about resource allocation and fiercely protecting your own leverage.
This builds directly into the concept of perception. Perception is the strategic gap between appearing virtuous and actually being virtuous. Looking loyal, humane, and honest is an absolute necessity. You must appear to have these qualities to function in society and to build alliances. But rigidly being those things in every single situation, regardless of the context, that is a trap. If you refuse to adapt, if you refuse to protect your interests when someone is playing dirty, you will be outmaneuvered by someone who plays the game better than you do.
Because people judge more by appearances than first-hand experience. Think about it. The masses only ever see your final results. They only see your public image and what you project outward. Very few people actually know who you really are behind closed doors. Because of this reality, leaders must ruthlessly control their appearances. You have to shape the narrative to maintain your influence. The crowd is always won over by the final outcome and the illusion of absolute competence.
This brings us to the fatal mistakes people make today that completely destroy their influence. Seeking universal approval, avoiding necessary conflict just because it feels uncomfortable, revealing weakness too easily under the guise of being vulnerable, confusing kindness with actual leadership, and trusting verbal promises over tangible leverage. These behaviors destroy your decision-making. When you confuse emotional weakness with kindness, you are handing over your power on a silver platter. You stop shaping reality, and you just start reacting to it.
And reality? Reality is highly unpredictable. Machiavelli uses this incredible metaphor. Fortune is a raging river. When the river floods, it destroys everything in its path. You cannot stop it once the water rises and the chaos begins. Even the best, most perfectly crafted strategies will fail if you don't build defenses before the flood hits. You have to anticipate the disruption before it arrives at your door. You secure your position during peacetime so you can actually survive the storm.
So, what is the ultimate rule for survival here? Adapt or fail. Circumstances change rapidly. If you rigidly stick to what worked in the past, or if you refuse to change your natural instincts, you will collapse. The successful leader is the one who adapts their character and their approach to the changing times. Hesitation and rigidity destroy power. You must remain fluid, ready to pivot your strategy the very moment the environment demands it.
So, how do we actually apply this today? You have to move away from emotional reactions. Stop yielding to circumstances and giving up your power just because you feel uncomfortable. Instead, you need strategic awareness. Focus on your positioning. Focus on your leverage. This is not about encouraging unethical behavior. It's not about being needlessly cruel. It's about profound awareness. It's about seeing reality exactly as it is so you can navigate modern negotiations, business, and social dynamics with sharp, calculated confidence.
To truly master these concepts and gain a much deeper understanding of human nature, you need to read the original manual for yourself. You can find the link to the book in the description below.
I want to leave you with this final, unforgettable thought. Let it sit in your mind as you go out and navigate your life, your career, and your relationships. The people who understand power shape history. Everyone else just reacts to it. The world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards results.